Common Knowledge is brought to you by PureMTGO.com and InkedGaming.com. Use coupon code CCMTG10 at checkout for a 10% discount on all Inked Gaming supplies and accessories. You can support the show directly through Patreon at patreon.com/common knowledge.
This is the Common Knowledge Podcast. It's not about the cost, it's about the knowledge. Here are your hosts, Brandon Clark and Lobbert.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to episode 62 of the Common Knowledge Podcast. 7 more to go. I'm your host, and joined with me, I guess I should tell you my name. My name's Brandon. You guys probably didn't know that.
You can call him host.
Call me host. Wasn't that a book?
I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure that
Host?
was a book.
Host
Yeah.
was a book. It was by the lady who did
The
Twilight.
Lady.
I read that.
Yeah. I didn't. I watched the movie with my girlfriend in high school, though. She was obsessed with the book. I think she got it for me for my birthday because she wanted me to read it.
Uh-huh.
And then I think my sister owns it now. Whatever. I'm your host, Brandon, and joined with me, as always, is my trusty companion, Sean the Lobbert.
Yeah, we were definitely not talking about Popper at the start there.
Today I think we have kind of a fun show. I got absolutely obliterated by Entropy 123?
263.
263. Yeah, Entropy 263. I was close. Not really. Or also known as Burb Man.
Yep, that's what he streams as.
Yeah. Super rad dude. We met him at GP Vegas last year, and he's really cool. But he just absolutely obliterated me with Tireless Tribe combo. I'm sure a lot of you have seen his innovations on the deck, and we're gonna be talking about that today.
Because we think he's right. We've
said
it before. Yeah, we've said it before. We've talked about the list, but
I think that was when we did the set review. I asked, does Tethmos High Priest, is that a Tireless Tribe thing? I asked that question. And obviously, I'm not smart enough or willing to put the time in to figure out if it is a thing. So I just let better Magic players do the work for me, and Birdman did, and we got our answer.
Card of the Week.
I chose this one. It's Cathartic Reunion. So Cathartic Reunion is 1 and a red for a sorcery that says, as an additional cost to cast Cathartic Reunion, discard 2 cards, and then you draw 3 cards. And so the reason I chose this is because I don't know if it's really a point of contention, but it's definitely not something that everyone in the community agrees upon, particularly the Boros Bully lists. Some of them will have a Cathartic Reunion, and some of them just don't. So I thought it was an interesting card to talk about. It gets played some of the time, but not all of the time. So it's, I guess, kind of a point of contention in that deck list of, are you going to play a Cathartic Reunion or are you not?
Which camp are you in?
I started in the camp of not, because the deck list that I copied didn't have one. But I think for this last week of me playing Boros Bully before next week's What Are We Playing segment, I'm going to throw one into my deck list and give it a shot. Just to see. Okay. For science.
Yeah, I love that. I'm definitely in the camp of, I've been too scared to play this card the whole time. I just think that the floor on this is a basement. If it gets foiled or counterspelled, dazed, you're just in a world of hurt unless the cards you've discarded really need to be in the graveyard already. It's just, I'm so scared to play it.
Yeah, I think that is the biggest issue right now, is this format is full of dazes and foils, and that's one of the other big reasons why I elected to go with a deck list that wasn't playing this card. But that being said, the deck list that makes good use out of this, that being Boros Bully, if it's discarding cards like Firebolt or Prismatic Strands, Battle Screech, then you're getting a little bit more value, right?
Yes, but the alternative
I guess,
is
yeah,
faithless looting.
getting value. You're still discarding cards for no effect, but
Yeah,
you're not like totally out of the woods
and like the
or
alternative
totally like
being
screwed. I don't know what I'm saying.
the
I don't know.
alternative is faithless looting, and faithless looting. If you do faithless looting and everything goes through, you're down a card, and this would be card neutral.
Hmm.
So I think its ceiling is actually higher, and you don't
Yeah.
have to think about it, work as hard. Like faithless looting is going to be more cards, but it's essentially 4 mana spread
Hmm.
out over 2 turns, however you like it. So this is straight up more powerful in the 75% of games that don't have counterspell. Maybe that number's off, but I think the majority of your games aren't going to have counterspell. So if you play this, you're
I
just
think it's
saying,
like about a third, maybe a little more than a third when you like take into account Gurmag Angler decks. I guess Tron decks have counter spells, and Mono Blue Delver decks have counter spells. Some have more than others, so I don't know. Maybe it's closer to like 40%, 45% of decks you'll face.
yeah,
I
I
still think it's like really high though. Like that's still a really high number to go that like okay in a third of my matches there's a good shot that this just gets countered and I'm just down 3 cards.
yeah, but you can board it out, and they're not always going to have the counter,
Yeah.
and they're using a counterspell on a card that, yeah, it's really good when they do it, but it's also like not actually a threat.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could be like, this could be the bait spell. They don't know, so maybe like thinking about it now, I maybe should be playing this in more decks than I currently am. I guess the other deck that I see it in is the black red reanimator deck that nobody plays anymore, and it was really good there because
Yeah.
you want to dig as hard as you can for, I don't know, an
Yeah, and
angler or
if this
a
gets
villain.
countered, you don't really care because you've already like you're dumping the thing into the graveyard anyway. Like in a
Yeah,
lot of times, it's basically you're in tomb. Um,
exactly. Yeah,
where this card does get played in Boros Bully, it's usually just as like a one of alongside 4 copies of Faithless Looting. What I mean, you talked about the red black reanimator deck. What other decks can make use of this right now in our format? I feel like there's just not a lot.
yeah. I'm not sure either.
I think that like you need to have like you have to have graveyard payoff with this card. Because like you've already talked about the risk of counter spells, and so if you're not getting any payoff off of it, just like on the front by putting cards into the graveyard that you want in your graveyard, this card feels not good. Like this isn't a card advantage spell. This isn't a spell that you'd want to put in your deck to like, oh, I drew too many lands this game. Luckily, I drew Cathartic Reunion. Like that's not a thing you're doing with this card.
It's good filtering if that is what you want to do with it. It's just that
I feel like you
I
could do
can't
something better,
construct
like play cycling lands or something. Like I don't know if you're worried about flood, just play like 2 cycling lands and do that instead. I can't imagine that you'd ever want to do something fair with this card. And
yeah.
I just want to filter cards. So if I'm getting mana flooded or whatever, I can
The
pitch
risk is
to
just too
land.
high.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think there are better things you could be doing. I don't know, like just play. I don't know, maybe just play a blue deck so you can play good draw spells, and then
And
if you're a red deck, just play aggressive spells. I don't know,
mm, and
less
yeah,
lands.
it does
But
feel like I keep coming back to the fact that Faithless Looting doesn't have you discard your cards up front.
mm-hmm.
So, and it's got that back end to it, so it's more filtering just over a longer period of time. You'd have to have a really good reason to want to be faster than that and want more. Like, it's weird to say that it's faster. It's more mana than the front side of Faithless Looting, but you see more cards
Mm-hmm.
turn 2.
See, I don't think speed is something to like factor in with cards like this or faithless looting.
Hmm.
Does that
Yeah.
make sense? Like these aren't cards that are going to want to go into like fast decks. Like, I would never put Faithless Looting into a burn deck.
Yes, but
Right?
I'm thinking like a fast deck like the Exhume deck. Like something that wants to combo
Oh,
more
sure.
quickly.
I guess like that is a different case though, because it's that's like combo. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I think of that differently. Um, but yeah, if you're doing something degenerate, I guess that just goes back to my first point though. Is like if you're doing something degenerate with your graveyard, this card is probably great. But if you're just being fair, this is not a card that you would want.
Yeah, and I'm still in the camp of like I'm just too scared to play the card.
I do think though that you'd want to play this alongside cards like Faithless Looting in like the red black reanimator deck. It gets played alongside looting in the Boros Bully deck from time to time, and
Yeah, Faithless Looting is a really good card to discard to Cathartic Reunion.
that's true too. So yeah, that's Cathartic Reunion card of the week. I'm gonna slot this into my Boros list today and try to run through a league or two with it before next week. And maybe I'll have some better insight on it when we talk about our decks next week. But for now, should we?
I just wanted to mention really quick about the decks that we're going to talk about next week. I'm so tired of playing Boggles. And we'll go into why.
It's so funny.
Next week.
I can play a deck for like an entire season, and not be bored of it. But Sean, you get bored of a deck like after
it's
a
not
week.
that I'm bored, it's that there are glaring issues.
Well, good.
Yeah.
That's what we need to know for science. And like honestly, if you feel like you've gotten the data you need to talk about, like, I don't think it's a big deal if you like play something else until next week. I really
I have been playing other stuff, but I've still been like I've still been grinding with Boggles in competitive leagues. I'll just let you know I've only earned 2 competitive points with the deck.
Oof. Big oof.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into the main topic, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Main topic.
Sweet. So this week, like we said, we are talking about Tireless Tribe.
Yes, but it's the Birdman version of Tireless Tribe with Tethmos High Priest.
And I'm just going to start by saying you should put Tethmos in your tribe decks.
Yeah,
you should just do it.
Mm-hmm. Every time I've played against it, that's what my conclusion has been, is just like, oh, this
engine is really powerful. It's a lot to play through. It's a lot to try to beat on. It gives the deck a really different angle of attack. So it's interesting because Tireless Tribe at the end of the day is a creature-based combo deck. And so you would think that, like, okay, I just need to bring in creature removal and I'm okay. But the way our removal is shaped in Pauper for a lot of decks, particularly red decks, you can't get away with killing Seeker of the Way with the same cards that you want to try to kill Tireless Tribe with. Like, you want to bring in your Electrickeries and stuff, but then, they just play this bizarre game with Seekers of the Way and Tethmos High Priest, and you've just got Electrickery in your hand, just like, oh no, I need to draw something. And so it splits your sideboarding to where you're like stretching yourself to like, okay, I've got to think about their graveyard now. I've got to think about being able to interact with the combo. I've got to not die to Seeker of the Way. All these new things are just coming at you. It makes playing against the deck a lot more stressful. So let's read Birdman's deck list here.
Okay, yeah, that's what I want to do. Let's start with the mana base. We have 17 lands. We have 2 Ash Barrens, 4 Evolving Wilds, 8 Islands, 2 Plains, and 1 Terramorphic Expanse. So this is basically the same.
Yeah, I think pretty much that's what it is. I'm just trying to remember if some lists play more Evolving Wilds. I don't know. It probably doesn't matter too much. You want like 8 islands, 2 plains, and then 7 ways to go and fetch your mana. So I guess you split that kind of whatever you're comfortable with. I personally like having more Ash Barrens, typically.
More than 2?
I usually like having like a 3. in a deck like Tribe, I felt like it was really important to be able to like play up island on turn one, cantrip to try to find, a card like Tribe, and then have access to white mana right away to get it into play. I guess, I don't know, that was when I was playing the version of the deck that was not playing Tethmos High Priest, because that card wasn't in Pauper yet, but in that version of the deck, going fast was more important. So maybe it's a lot less important right now, and you just are fine playing more Evolving Wilds type effects. But
it's just that it's the hands that only have Ash Barrens in them that you're trying to avoid.
Yeah, having 3 increases that, but it still doesn't increase it as much as 4. So I don't know that I would ever play 4 copies of it, but I still think that, I don't know, I liked playing with 3.
4 is right out. Yeah, I like 2. I wouldn't go up on these at all.
Okay.
But the mana base isn't that interesting. I want to move on to the creatures.
Yeah, I actually disagree with you. I think this is incredibly fascinating. The distinction... No, I'm not even joking. The distinction between 2 and 3 Ash Barrens, I feel like this is a topic we could probably talk about for another 30 minutes. At least I could. I think it does have a lot of play in it.
Yes, but I don't know. It's not I don't want to make the show about it.
I'm not saying we're going to talk about it. I'm just saying I think that there's a lot to break down there. Mostly just the differences in the deck list. I think that having a mana base that has more Evolving Wild effects plays into the fact that this is not as all in on the combo as older versions of the deck or other versions are. Whereas with other versions of the deck, like I said, I would prefer to have 3 so that I can prioritize being able to play Tireless Tribe as soon as possible. I think that's just the biggest distinction for me. But anyway, we can move on. Tell us about the creatures. This is where the spice is at.
There are 14 creatures. We have 4 Augur of Bolas, 4 Seeker of the Way, 2 Tethmos High Priest, and 4 Tireless Tribe.
That's a lot more creatures.
So they've 6 more. Which is
6 or 7. Some deck lists only play 2 to 3 Augurs. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But
because you had to make a ton of room for like weird spells, like you needed your Dizzy spell and your Giga Drowse and like all sorts of shenanigans.
And I want to just make sure to read Tethmos High Priest to everybody, because the way it's worded is really important. It is 2 and a white for a 2/3 cat cleric. It has heroic. It says, whenever you cast a spell that targets Tethmos High Priest, return target creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it goes straight into play, and that it feels like it shouldn't. And when I played against it, I got blown out because I forgot that it's going straight into play.
Mm-hmm.
And like a lot of lists are forced to remove blockers so that they can actually attack, which just makes their deck better. Like, they want you to have to deal with their stuff so that they can bring it back. Like, killing an Augur of Bolas, which, the Augur of Bolas is just going to stand in your way. It wants to jump in front of the biggest creature possible instead of, like, maybe before your Augur of Bolas would be incentivized to block a 2-power creature instead of a 5-power creature, so that it'll live for another turn. You can do that, do that more than once, and then when you need to cash it in, you go for the 5. This just goes straight for the 5-power creature, and then they get value on their spell that they're targeting Tethmos High Priest with. And yeah, there are only 2 Tethmos High Priest here, so it's not like an all-in Tethmos build, but the value when Tethmos is working is really amazing.
Yeah. It's like I said earlier, it just makes playing against this deck so hard. Because you're forced to now use your removal spell. Like, your removal spells are now just so incredibly taxed by Seeker of the Way and Tethmos High Priest. It's really hard to now have to think about the combo itself, which is just looming. I think that this innovation has made this deck incredibly powerful, and I think we're going to see a lot more of it, like going forward. Yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about the creatures. Do you have anything else? And we'll talk about the rest of the deck.
I mean, we haven't even touched on Secret of the Way, and that card
Um,
gives you so much time. It's an alternative win con. It's like this, Tireless Tribe is this must answer threat. Secret of the Way is a must answer threat that is just going to buy all this time and do all these great things for you.
Yeah. Well, and this might just be one of the best Secret of the Way decks out there.
Oh, yes.
There are like 8 free spells in this deck list. Not to mention it's good with Shadow Rift.
Yeah.
It's good with all your cantrips. Like you like Gitaxian Probe and then play a spell and then play another spell and then cast Gush and then play your land and then Shadow Rift it, and it's like take 7.
So yeah, it's just bought you all of the time.
I guess that was 6.
Like, Secret of the Way isn't just like a one-turn kill, but it buys you time so that you can kill them over the course of 3 turns because it's just hitting them for so big.
Well, and it sets up it can help you set up interesting combats where you attack with your Tireless Tribe and your Seeker of the Way, and they're kind of like, okay, I have to block this Tireless Tribe because I just have to respect that it's going to kill me, and then they just like pitch a card to it, whatever, cast a Brainstorm, cast a thing. All right, just cracked you for 4. I gained 4. Go. It's just like, oh, okay. And then if you ever try to like deal with the Seeker of the Way, they just kill you with Tireless Tribe.
Do you remember the game in Common Coliseum where you were playing Tireless Tribe and I think I was on burn and you played 4 Gitaxian Probes within the first 2 turns and just dealt yourself 8 damage?
I remember that.
Yeah, Seeker of the Way is gonna undo a lot of that, and that I love what this deck does, and you're forced to kill the Seeker of the Way. It comes back when Tethmos Type Priest comes in. Tethmos feels... Well, when I played against this deck, the instant and sorcery package was different. So, let's go over the instants and sorceries. Do you want me to read them?
Sure. Yeah, you can read them.
Okay, we have 27 instants and sorceries. We have 3 Brainstorm, 3 Dispel, 4 Gitaxian Probe, 4 Gush, 4 Inside Out, 2 Ponder, 3 Preordain, and 4 Shadow Rift. So what the other version that I played against was running was Mutagenic Growths and Apostle's Blessings and things like that. It was playing a more protective... Really, it's those Mutagenic Growths that are missing that I was a little bit shocked by.
There are a lot of things very different about this setup here. I mean, the first one right off the bat is the Brainstorm count. This was always a 4 Brainstorm deck, and Birdman has really shaved down on the number of cantrips. We've got 3 Brainstorm, 2 Ponder, 3 Preordains to make room for a lot of these other spells, because you still need those key 4 Gush, 4 Inside Out, 4 Shadow Rifts. So you've got to make those cuts somewhere to fit in all these extra creatures. And the other glaring one to me is the lack of circular logic.
Yeah, that's what I noticed.
Some lists, I still see Tethmos lists from time to time with like 1 circular logic, but a lot of them are just not playing it at all. They're playing more copies of Dispel.
Yeah, instead. The setup cost is too high, and you're looking to counter instant speed spells anyway, so they're just going for these dispels, and that seems pretty smart to me.
Yeah, I agree. Dispel, like you said, it's a lot less situational. It doesn't take any setup. It just adds a lot more consistency, which I think is what this deck is going for. It's less about the raw speed and power of what the old Tireless Tribe decks were, and this deck is just more about consistency in its game plan and being able to be modal in that game plan of like you. It feels very Splinter Twin-esque to me. It's going to play an interesting tempo beatdown game, but you always just have to respect that you're going to die at any moment to his Tireless Tribe, or their Tireless Tribe, And so
It feels like this has a greater ability to rebuild. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
if you play a Tethmos and then you Shadow Rift, you draw your card, and then you're gonna get back, say, an Augur of Bolas.
You're
So
gonna get your
now
card back again.
you're up 2 cards, and then you
Mhm.
just kind of keep going from there.
And then you inside out it and get them for 3, and you get your other creature back.
And then you get your Tireless Tribe back.
Got him. Yeah, I like this spell quite a bit here, much more than Circular Logic. If I was going to play this deck at a paper tournament, I would still play like one Circular Logic because I've got a sweet play set of Japanese ones. So I'm obligated, I think, to at least put one in my deck.
I was like, just so ready to be like, oh, like, or I was excited to hear like, what do you care about countering? And then you're just like, oh God, it looks cool.
So I like to pretend that I'm a Spike, but I'm actually just very much a Timmy at heart. Like, I just really care about my sweet foils and pretty Japanese cards, and I will make suboptimal deck choices in order to play a pretty card.
I'm also going to say that there are 2 Journey to Nowheres in the main deck, and that is a little bit weird.
I think that's just a concession to the format right now. You just need ways to deal with the threats. I think particularly of just Gurmag Angler in general, you just need a way to not die to that card really quickly. At the end of the day, this still is a combo deck, and sometimes you are going to just draw the weird half of your deck. And this list in particular is cutting down on the amount of cantrips it has, so you're going to have a lot less ways to like tear through and try to find it.
This is the card that I'm going to say I don't understand or like, and maybe you can turn me around on it, but the format isn't, just Gurmag Angler. I think maybe on the show sometimes we say that it's like the Gurmag Angler Blue-Black Delver format more than it actually is. Yes, there's a lot of Blue-Black Delver, but there's also a lot of Boros. Journey to Nowhere it's not exciting against Boros. They don't care if one of their creatures goes away. And then I don't think that Tron especially cares. It's not that big of it doesn't have that much of the meta share anymore, but then, Boggles, Burn might care a little bit. I don't know, it's like kind of a one matchup card. And then like it's mediocre in the rest.
Yeah.
Shouldn't your plan for Blue-Black Delver be throw garbage creatures in front of Gurmag Angler and get them back with Tethmos?
I think that your plan against Gurmag Angler decks is to have dispels and race them. And I think that Journey to Nowhere is quite good in that sense, helping you race. But I also think you're probably just right, and this seems like a one matchup card. It may be. Especially if you're playing friendly leagues, I think especially the Journey to Nowheres are probably cuttable. But I think if you're playing competitive leagues, I don't know what your experience still is like in competitive leagues, but my experience is still like at least 2 to 3 games are against Blue-Black.
It's 1 to 2 per 5 games, I guess. Last couple leagues I haven't faced it at all. It's weirdly been a lot of white-black Pestilence and, of course, Boros.
I'm playing a lot fewer competitive leagues lately, so it could just be my sample size, but I still feel like I see it a lot more than anything else. Boros is the other big one. Like, I'll usually be like 2 to 3 Blue-Black and then like 2 Boros and then 1 random off. Like, I'll see Burn or I'll see Elves or I'll see Pestilence. But
yeah, and then just like, I guess, Mono Blue Delver, of course. I see that, like, it's a fair share of the time. I guess even in the matchups that I said that it's not very good, it's just middling. So maybe this is better than just another cantrip. I'm not sure on that. But if it left the list, I wouldn't be like, where did it go?
Yeah, I almost feel like this would be a good slot for cards like Mutagenic Growth or Apostle's Blessing.
Just I would love to talk to him about why those aren't in here anymore.
Yeah, I think having extra ways to 1, protect your combo, and then 2, trigger Tethmos, because this deck only has 8 ways to do it, and I imagine you don't want to use your inside outs on Tethmos. Like you'd rather save those, I would think. Like I guess like if it's what you got to do, it's what you got to do. But I wouldn't want to go into games knowing that like 50% of the time I trigger Tethmos, it's with inside out.
Oh, I really doubt that that's happening that much. If it is happening,
Well, there's 8 spells that trigger
yeah.
Tethmos, and 4 of them are
Oh
inside
yeah,
out. So
there's not that many. Okay.
that's what I said. There's Shadow Rift,
Yeah.
there's inside out. So 50% of the time, like 50% of your spells that trigger Tethmos are inside outs.
Yeah.
So I could see cutting journeys, maybe allocating those to the sideboard if you really needed them, and having a mutagenic growth, Apostle's Blessing, a split, or 2 of 1. I'd be into that.
Yeah, more cards that trigger heroic and no journeys.
Mhm.
Like, where did you get this list? Did you say?
It was from the Pauper Challenge on the
Okay.
11th.
So he decided that this is what
he finished second place.
Okay, because I was kind of like, if this was just like a competitive league or something, then it could just be that this is like we're just seeing a snapshot in the evolution of this deck, and this could just be something he's trying out. If he's bringing it to a challenge,
Sure.
I think you bring the best version of the deck list that you've developed so far. So this probably isn't just like a, oh, they were in here, they came out, I'm putting them back in type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's been tuned quite a lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at another list really quick from, this past Pauper Challenge, actually. Be Reborn finished 6th place with a very similar deck list. Same land configuration, same creature configuration, same instant and sorcery configuration with one exception. There's cut a brainstorm, so 2 brainstorms and 1 circular logic. And Be Reborn is also playing 2 Journey to Nowheres.
Okay.
So the exact same 75 that Birdman had, only difference is the circular logic. So 74 of the 75, but 2 Journey to Nowheres here also. But I don't know, like looking at the rest of the top 8 here, first place Boros tokens, second place Boros tokens, Boros Bully. MTG top 8's the worst. They just have the worst names for their deck lists.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of the easiest places to just see data.
Yeah.
So I go to it. But their deck lists are always named weird. Like Boros Metalcraft.
Is that just Monarch?
Mono Blue Aggro. Let's find out.
Mono Blue Aggro?
Yes, this is just Monarch. Mono Blue Aggro. Just like I thought. It's Mono Blue Delver.
Phantasmal Bear and Cloudfin Serpent or whatever it is.
Jesse and Thief, actually.
Whoa.
A one of. That feels bad, but we're
So
not
different.
talking about this deck list. So, but anyway, yeah, I'm looking at just the top 8. So we're looking at 2 Boros Bullies lists, a mono Demir mid range. So it's just mono Demir. There's no Izzet Splash, Golgari Splash. It's just mono Demir.
Are all of the spells only blue-black multicolor spells? Because maybe then...
It actually looks like all the spells are black, with the exception of Demir Guildmage.
So it's mono black.
It's mono black Pestilence. But anyway, yeah. So I back to my original point. I'm off of the names. Okay, the names are just bad on top 8. Boros Bully, Mono Black Pestilence, Boros Monarch, Blue Delver, Tireless Tribe, Blue Delver, Boggles. Name a deck list in this top 8 that you want Journey to Nowhere against.
The mono black list, because Kumbaj Witches, I don't know.
Not even playing Kumbaj Witches in this mono black deck.
I don't think there is
playing
one.
Cemetery Gate. Do you know what that is?
No.
2/3 for a summon wall. Protection from black, 0/5. Black those fishes.
Oh my God. That is oh my gosh.
That is deep. That is some deep tech.
I really
And
like
it's a
that.
black tip for Gray Merchant, you know?
Oh yeah.
No one's taking the Monarch from you if, like, you go turn 3 Cemetery Gate, turn 4 Thorn of the Black Rose.
I would
Except for,
imagine
Boros decks that
Monarch decks.
die. That's super deep. I don't know if I'm on board with it, but I appreciate the ingenuity.
Maybe that's the reason there's no blue black Delver lists in that top
I'm gonna
8.
hear you knocked them all out.
Yeah, and then lost.
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't really see a lot of great matchups for Journey to Nowhere, so I'd be curious to see what, like, I'm curious next week to see what the rest of the top 24 decks look like. I haven't played the deck list, so I guess I can't really make a super accurate statement, but I could get behind cutting Journey to Nowhere's. Like, if next week these weren't in these deck lists anymore, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I think we're agreed on that. Okay, sideboard?
Yeah, let's talk
Okay.
about the sideboard.
So
I
for the
can-
sideboard, no, I'm gonna see this to the end. I've read
Okay.
every card so far, and
All right.
I'm
If
determined.
you wanted a break, I could give you a break, but if you want to
No.
do it, more power to you, man.
We've got 2 Gut Shot, 2 Hydroblast, 2 Kirtar's Desire, 2 Obsidian Acolyte, 2 Prismatic Strands, 2 Runum Unicorn, and 2 Shimmering Wings. Okay, so there's like a couple of cards in here that we're gonna have to read.
I've got everything pulled up. What do you need to see? Obsidian Acolyte?
Let's just start near the top. Just reread Kirtar's Desire for everybody, since it's seeing more play now than it ever has. It's getting way more popular. So I want to drill this into people's heads because it might be important.
Okay. So Katar's Desire is basically just Journey to Nowhere for a single white. So it just says enchanted creature can't attack, and if you have Threshold, that creature can't block.
Threshold is easy in this deck list, and that is relevant in this one. You are attacking.
Yeah, having the ability. Maybe that's another reason for Journey to Nowhere. You just need to remove blockers. Like, you don't necessarily care about hitting anything in particular. You just need to get a blocker out of the way for your Seeker.
That could trigger Tethmos High Priest.
You could.
And it wouldn't feel that bad if you didn't have Threshold. Oh, wait. Yeah, because you can still block with it.
You can attack, yeah. You still block with your 2/3, but you get back your other creature. I could definitely see lines of play. Like, that's not what you're bringing Kirtar's Desire into your deck list for in post board games. I mean, maybe if you're going deep and you're just like, I really need ways to trigger Kirtar's Desire or Tethmos in the matchup you are, but you're bringing it in to remove blockers, move attackers and blockers on your opponent's side, so you can get in with your Seeker the way. And
one extra mode is nice. Yeah,
you just have an extra way to trigger.
And then Obsidian Acolyte is protection from black. You can pay a white to give another creature protection from black, correct?
Correct. For 1 and a black.
The Acolytes, I know, have been kind of expensive, and I just imagine that this one is going to be more expensive because it's having the whole Cemetery Gate effect of just blanking all.
You mean like it's mana cost?
No.
You mean like it's ticket price?
Oh, it's ticket price.
Oh, it's 0.72 tickets.
Really? Well,
yes.
0.72 is way, like, this is like not a very played card. Why is it
for a popper card?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I know that these used to be way more than they are now because I was looking at buying them and I was like, I can't afford that once upon a time. But like, yeah, the protection from black is a very good effect against that deck right now.
It does a lot of really good things. It, blocks forever, doesn't die to a lot of the removal. It pushes through damage from your other creatures. And then it also just gives you this extra added protection. Like, you get this in play with a white mana up, and it's going to be really hard for Blue-Black Delver to stop you from comboing with Tireless Tribe. Like, you can almost just go for it without any fear.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you need to think about interacting with 2 different spells.
The only thing is going to be like a random bounce spell that they brought in after board.
Yeah. They have a random blue bounce spell, which not a lot of the lists do. So
yeah,
it wouldn't be on my radar. I'd be thinking about Echoing Decays and Snuff Outs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next card here is Ram Nom Unicorn. It is 1 and a white for a 2/2. Sacrifice Ram Nom Unicorn, destroy target enchantment.
Yeah, I originally thought that this was the other unicorn that is a 1/2 that reduces damage done by spells by 1. I don't remember what that unicorn is called, but that's the one I usually see. So I totally was off on this one. What are they doing with this unicorn?
Killing enchantments and getting it back.
Oh, yeah.
It's like when you're playing blue-red decks with Ghostly Flicker, Ingot Chewer in your sideboard is just free value. It's the same. It's like the same line of thinking. You know, you get your 2/2, you smack them with it one time, you blow up their enchantment, you Shadow Rift your Tethmos High Priest, you get your Ram Nom Unicorn back.
Well, if this was me, I would be playing Kami of Ancient Law.
Same card, right?
It's the same, except it's a spirit, and I like the art better.
Yeah, I could get behind that.
Yeah. But I'm not a unicorn guy.
This one just so I can say Ram Nom 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 when I eat people's enchantments with it.
I would be taking that out of your deck and putting the other one in there because I don't like the way you say Ranam.
Ram Nom 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 Nom.
Yeah. And then what is Shimmering Wings?
Shimmering Wings is an interesting little aura. It's 1 blue mana for an enchant creature because it's an aura. Enchanted creature has flying. Pay a blue, return it from the graveyard to your hand.
This is what you're bringing in.
Sorry, just return it to your hand. So from the field to your hand.
So this is, pay a lot of blue mana, trigger Tethmos High Priest any number of times.
Yes. And then you end up getting it on your, your last creature after you've triggered Tethmos enough. You end up with it on your Tireless Tribe set up for next turn or on your Seeker of the Way.
You give it evasion, profit. Oh, trigger Seeker of the Way a million times.
Yeah, it triggers that too. So where does this come in, though?
That's what I was thinking.
It kind of just gives you that pseudo infinite value, but I also imagine you don't want to bring it in against removal decks,
against
decks with a lot of removal, just because you're gonna lose it if they kill your creature in response. But this is where I would see that being really good, an effect like this where you can just get tons of recursive value, but then you just got that high risk of, oh, they killed my guy, lost my Shimmering Wings.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that I care to fly over. The only one coming to my mind is Red Black Monarch, because I think
elves. You want to fly over elves, maybe? I don't know. You need a fast way to kill them too, with Seeker of the Way before they can go off.
Well, if it was for something like elves, you would just be playing something that just gave your creature flying and a plus. You could play Cartouche of whatever the blue one is, and you could also play the +2/+2.
This increases your clock against elves, though. Drastically. It gives you the invasion to go over the top, and it gives you all those extra buffs on Seeker of the Way, so that you're killing them faster. You're not giving them as much time to go off.
How many triggers is it? 2?
2 or 3. So you're attacking with a 4/4 or 5/5 as opposed to a 3/3.
Yeah, but if say it's something like,
but you're always getting the life gain trigger. which is relevant.
Huh. I think that it has to be for the triggering of High Priest. And
Well,
the only
yeah.
thing I can think of is like Edict decks or something.
Mm.
And I don't know how. I guess it is worth it to board against them, but
I don't know. I think that if you also were just worried about elves, you could just put Standard Bearer in your deck and be fine. Also, like, I don't know that elves is even a particularly hard matchup anyway, that you're going as deep as, like, putting Shimmering Wings in your deck to
yeah,
buff
I'm
Secret.
saying I
Get a
don't think
clock.
it's elves. Yeah,
You're probably just. I'm not saying it's elves. I'm not saying it's only here for elves. I'm just
no.
naming deck lists. Holy cow, man.
Okay,
I'm not
but
saying this is literally just for elves. I'm just giving you ideas of where you could put this in. I think you're right though. It's edict decks,
I mean, do you
like
care? Is
like
it
decks that don't have a
Stompy?
lot of targeted removal, but decks that are like relying on edicts. That seems like a really good place for them.
I think I'm gonna stop trying because I'm just grasping at straws here. I don't understand this one.
I
Sorry.
wouldn't I wouldn't board it in against straws though.
I'm just naming deck lists. It's not particularly straws.
So we've got edict decks, elf decks. You probably don't even need to bring it in against elves, even though I think it has an application, because I think that you just kill them because they can't interact with you. So you just make your guy unblockable and discard your hand, and they die.
Yeah.
I think that you're right. It's probably just edict decks. I don't know, decks that just don't have a lot of targeted removals, so you're not like getting blown out by them, but you do need a way to like slog through all of their stuff. I guess
Yeah.
like the other thing too is when you're putting this on Tethmos High Priest, you're really only afraid of Snuff Out because Echoing Decay doesn't do it.
Yeah.
Because Tethmos is a 2/3, so maybe this card is also just fine against blue-black decks? Like the Gurmag Angler blue-black Delver decks?
That's what I was thinking initially of, like, it's gotta be for the triggering, otherwise it would just have...
Oh, it's
I want to call it,
100%
like...
there for the triggering. Like, that's why it is there.
Yeah.
You know, but it does have other applications of being able to push through a ton of damage with Seeker of the Way. Like, that is definitely an upside of this card, but it's not there because of Seeker of the Way. It's there because of High Priest.
Yeah. So maybe it's fine against ground-based aggro decks, like Stompy, and I guess that's Stompy and Slivers, and then it's also good against the blue-black Delver deck because Tethmos is shaped weird for that deck.
Yeah, that Tethmos is hard for them to kill. They have to kill it with Snuff Out.
It allows them to get around the Augur of Bolas wall.
Assuming that you have a ton of blue mana open to be doing this, you probably have blue mana up for Dispel to protect it from Snuff Out. You know?
Yeah.
So you can set up a lot of situations where Shimmering Wings just gets tons of value against blue-black decks, the red-black decks.
Yeah,
I could see this being great against Boros Bully as well. Like put your guy up in the air to block, but also Boros Bully decks aren't playing instant speed removal. The closest thing they have to instant speed removal is like Seal of Fire, and not a lot of decks even have that. Other than that, they're like all on Flame Slashes, Firebolts, Journey to Nowheres.
Huh.
So this card's probably actually really great against Bully to like just get your guys back. I mean, unless like they've journeyed them, but I don't know. You have your Rom Nom unicorns.
That's true.
So like but then like you just go off because you like blow up your Journey to Nowhere. Shimmering Wings, my guy. Get back my Rom Nom unicorn.
Yeah.
Got him.
Okay, so we had to spend way longer than maybe we needed to. But it's a weird
to have an argument about elves, and then I think we got there.
Yeah.
I still don't even know if we're all the way there, but I think we're piecing the puzzle together.
Yeah. Anything else about this list?
No. I guess like the last thing is it's gotten rid of, I think I might have already said this, but it's gotten rid of a lot of the weird spells like Dizzy Spell, Giga Drowse. What I see when I look at this deck list is just like more consistency. It's just trying to be more streamlined, more consistent. I guess not more streamlined, it's less streamlined, but that's what's giving its consistency.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
The deck was like over streamlined, it seemed like before, which is weird to say. I don't remember who was saying it. Somebody was saying like, if anybody looked at this from any other format, they would say that the old version of this deck would never work because you have 4 cards that win the game for you, and it's just 100% cantrips and combo pieces for that one combo, and you're just trying to go pedal to the metal, do that as fast as you can, and it's just it looked completely weird. This is starting to look more normal, and like the threat count is higher. Yeah,
I think that's a really good point. Even though the deck was more streamlined, at the end of the day, it was a deck list that won with 2 cards, but you only had 4 copies of that card. It's not like Splinter Twin decks in Modern that you could just play 8 copies of Deceiver Exarch and Pestermite. Like you get 4 Tireless Tribes and 4 Inside Outs. And that's why you were playing just bad cards like Dizzy Spell to like, you're playing your bad cards like Dizzy Spell, so you had an extra way to find Tireless Tracker or Tribe. And then you also were just playing Giga Drowse as a way to get value off of your Dizzy Spells if you already had Tireless Tribe. It was just, you were just making... I think that the fact that it was so threat light just warped it in a very weird way. And so I really like this version of the deck. Less streamlined on being all in on the combo, but more consistent in having a game plan. The game plan's not always the same, but you will consistently have a game plan. Like you can look at an opening hand and go, okay, this is a game about Seeker the Way and Tethmos Tribe Priest. Or you look at an opening hand and you just go, I got the nuts, kill him on turn 2.
Yeah.
Which has happened to me.
I know that right now in our format, what I'm feeling is that having a good win con in your deck and not trying to just grind and grind and grind is kind of where decks are succeeding. And I guess that doesn't really change with these changes at all, because it had that. It's just that you have more copies of those win cons now. I don't know. What I'm trying to say is that I really like this.
Yeah, I think being able to adjust is good. You can see that in, Blue Black Delver does it really well. Sometimes you get those turn 1 flip a Delver, protect it, kill you, tempo classic hands. And sometimes you get, I got some cantrips, I got a Gurmag Angler, I've got a Gush. All right, this hand is not about save the queen. This hand is about resource management and grinding out my opponent. And so having decks that can adjust themselves and have different game plans, I think is really powerful. And this deck does that incredibly well.
All right, I think we can call it there.
End times.
Thank you all for listening. That was Common Knowledge, episode 62. 7 more to go. If you enjoyed the show and would like to support us, you can do so in a number of ways. You can support us on patreon.com/common knowledge, where you will get access to the Common Coliseum videos, and you'll be in the the drawing for card of the week, which next week, when we do our we do our last card of the month, card of the week for the month, we will select one random name from amongst our lovely patrons, and we will send that person a copy of all of our cards. And since we had one person leave a comment on YouTube saying that they were for us signing the cards, we're going to sign your cards. So that's what you guys wanted. It's what y'all wanted. By
Well-
all of you, I mean one of you, so...
And me.
And Sean. I still feel weird doing it, but talk to us about our stretch goal.
Our stretch goal is a 5-card blind tournament. If you don't know what that means, it is a tournament where you submit via email a list of 5 cards. The cards all start in the player's opening hand, and Brandon and I play the decks against each other. We see what the other person has in their hand, and it's fairly obvious which deck is going to win pretty much every time. There are rules on our Patreon page. Once we hit $50, we're going to be holding this tournament. Anybody can enter, and we are going to be giving away MTGO Traders credit.
Yep. Anyone can enter, so not just patrons, and that is $50 when we hit that. And we're really close.
Yeah.
We're hovering right around 40, so we can get there and have this. I know that a few people have expressed interest in it, so no one has expressed disinterest. So I guess like no news, no feedback is good news, right? In that case, so I'm going to assume people want it. Some of the other great ways that you guys can support the show is by supporting the networks that we're affiliated with. So go check out Constructive Criticism on YouTube, and Common Knowledge you can find on the YouTube channel as well, along with all the other great content that Spencer puts out. You can support our sponsors, puremtgo.com and inkgaming.com. You can use the coupon code CCMTG10 for 10% off at checkout and kick a little bit back towards our network. If you would like to contact us, you can do so via email, commonknowledgemtg@gmail.com. And if you'd like to get in touch with us personally, you can do so via Facebook. Search for Common Knowledge and find our group. We will accept your request. The only rule is just don't be an idiot.
And we reserve the right to kick you at any time.
Yeah, if you're being an idiot, we'll kick you out. But mostly just don't be an idiot. Just be excellent to each other. You can also find the show on Twitter at CK Podcast MTG. You can find myself on Twitter at bclark_CK. And Sean, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Lobbert8, Lobbert, number 8. You can also find me on YouTube if you just search for Lobbert.